The cell, the foundation of life. All living things are made of cells. The cell is the smallest unit of life, the point where living processes begin. It's the structure that gives form to every organism and the system that keeps it alive. Inside each cell, countless reactions happen every second. Energy is produced, proteins are built, waste is removed, and information is stored. Everything that defines life happens within these tiny structures. A cell is surrounded by a thin membrane that separates it from its environment. Inside, there are specialized parts called organelles. Each organelle has a specific task. Mitochondria produce energy, ribosomes make proteins, and the nucleus stores the cell's DNA. This DNA carries the instructions that tell the cell how to grow, repair itself, and reproduce. Every human body is made up of about 37 trillion cells. Each one works as part of a larger network, communicating and cooperating to keep the body functioning. But all of these cells come from a single source, one original cell that formed at the very beginning of life. When a sperm cell unites with an egg cell, they form the zygote, the first cell of a new individual. This one cell contains all the genetic information needed to build a complete body. After fertilization, the zygote begins to divide. It becomes two cells, then four, then eight. These early cells, called blastomeres, are identical copies of the first cell. As they continue dividing, they form a hollow sphere known as the blastula. At this early stage, the cells are called stem cells. They have not yet taken on a specific role. Each one has the potential to become any type of cell, a nerve cell, a muscle cell, or a skin cell. As development continues, different groups of genes in the DNA are activated or silenced. This process, called differentiation, allows the cells to specialize. Through this gradual change, tissues and organs begin to form and a complex living body takes shape. Inside the cell. Inside every cell, there is constant movement and coordination. The thin cell membrane surrounds and protects it, deciding what enters and leaves. It lets in oxygen, water, and nutrients while removing waste and sending signals to other cells. The inside of the cell, called the cytoplasm, is filled with tiny structures known as organelles, each with its own job. The nucleus holds the DNA, which carries the full instruction set of life. The mitochondria produce energy that powers everything the cell does. Ribosomes and the endoplasmic reticulum make and fold proteins, while the Golgi apparatus prepares and sends them to where they are needed. Cells also clean and repair themselves. Lysosomes break down waste, and the cytoskeleton provides structure and support, keeping everything in place. In plant cells, chloroplasts use sunlight to create energy, turning light into life. All of these parts work together in perfect rhythm, reading the DNA, producing energy, communicating, and maintaining balance. The activity never stops. Even though it's too small to see, each cell is alive with thousands of tiny reactions happening every second, all working toward one purpose: to keep life going. Once the body is formed, cells continue to divide and renew throughout life. The process of mitosis allows a cell to create identical copies of itself. This is how we grow and how our bodies heal after an injury. When you cut your skin or lose a hair, new cells are made through mitosis to replace the old ones. Another type of cell division, called meiosis, produces reproductive cells, sperm and eggs. These cells contain only half the normal amount of DNA. When they join during fertilization, the full set of genetic information is restored. This is how life continues from one generation to the next. Cells, however, cannot divide forever. Each time a cell divides, the ends of its chromosomes, called telomeres, become shorter. When telomeres reach a certain limit, the cell stops dividing and eventually dies. This process is one of the main reasons living organisms age. Some cells, like stem cells and germ cells, have an enzyme called telomerase, which helps rebuild telomeres. This allows them to keep dividing longer, sometimes for the entire lifespan of the organism. For now, this natural limit defines how long most cells can remain active. Yet ongoing scientific progress, especially in genetics, cell reprogramming, and telomere research, continues to move toward extending and possibly overcoming these limits. In nature, a few species take this even further. The immortal jellyfish, for example, can reverse the development of its cells and start life again. Other organisms, such as planarian worms, can regenerate lost parts indefinitely. These examples show that the idea of biological immortality already exists in nature, though in rare and specific forms. Inside every cell, DNA works like a biological program. It's copied each time a cell divides and slightly adjusted over time through mutations. These small changes are part of evolution. They allow life to adapt, survive, and become more complex across generations. From the first single-celled organisms on Earth to the trillions of cells in a human body, the same pattern repeats. Each cell carries the same basic components, the same genetic code, and the same ability to reproduce. This shared structure links all living beings together in what scientists call the tree of life. Cells communicate with one another using chemical and electrical signals. This communication allows tissues and organs to work together as one. In the human brain, for example, billions of neurons exchange information through these microscopic connections. Every thought, memory, and emotion depends on the cooperation of individual cells. Cells also adapt to change. When exposed to stress, they can repair their DNA or trigger protective mechanisms. When damage is too great, they self-destruct through a process called apoptosis, preventing harm to the rest of the organism. This balance between growth and self-destruction keeps life stable and in order. At a larger scale, cells connect every living being through time. The DNA in our cells today is the same kind of molecule that existed in the first forms of life billions of years ago. Each time a cell divides, it passes forward a piece of that ancient continuity. In this sense, the story of the cell is the story of life itself, a story of renewal, adaptation, and persistence. Life doesn't stand still. It flows through generations of cells, constantly rebuilding and remembering. Every heartbeat, every new leaf, every breath of air is proof that the system still works, that the code written long ago is still being read. And maybe that's what makes the cell so extraordinary. It's not just where life begins. It's where life is constantly reborn. Every living being, no matter how simple or complex, carries within its cells the same quiet truth. Life continues.